guys have any questions, I will gladly try to answer them. But it's been a while, so easy questions first. I worked in LA at Harpo Films for a couple years. I was a director's assistant on this movie, Our Eyes Are Watching God, that Darnell Martin directed and Halle Berry starred and Oprah produced. So it was like one of those things. It was like awesome. You graduate and you're working with all these really big, talented people. But nobody wanted to help me do anything. So after the 2 years were over, I just left LA and took trains around the country for about 9 months. And I wound up in San Francisco because I met a woman there, I fell in love with her, I moved back there for her. And when she broke up with me, that's when I decided I wanted to try to make movies again. And this was the result. I wrote it really fast, wrote it in about 3 weeks, and it was like an 80-page script, and I knew that we would be able to make it really small. It was just 5 of us total in the whole crew. We made it for, we had like $13,000, like in pocket, that we shot the movie for. And then just like, we're like, oh, we'll take it to South by Southwest. That's what people are doing with their really small films. I was pretty much the character Micah in the film. I pretty much went through exactly what he went through leading up to when the film starts. I did not have a one-night stand and wake up next to a beautiful black woman in like a $10 million loft on the top of San Francisco. That did not happen. But all the other things he went through emotionally did happen, and the screenplay came out of that.
I read that you were hoping to have casted some actors who were from the San Francisco area and ended up finding people from LA, my hometown. I think they did a great job, but do you feel that people, had you been able to find some actors who were from the San Francisco area, that, you know, it might have turned out? I'm not sure, just what are your opinions on ultimately, you know, who you found, and in the future would you like to still be able to find people who are rooted in the area where you're filming?
In this case, it actually worked out a bit better that we had to go to LA to find Wyatt and Tracy. We looked for about 3 months here in San Francisco. We just didn't have any money, so we couldn't hire a casting agent. I think if we had hired a casting agent, then it would have been no problem. We would have found people here. But Wyatt was so hungry at this point, and he really wanted to become the character. And it's because he wasn't the character that he wanted to do the work to become the character. And we ended up getting some great things out of it. The best line in the film was the line I didn't write. It's when Wyatt's moving the bike, because there was just like a blocking thing that had to be worked out where I needed the bike to be on the other side of the room. It's when they come back from the club, where they're about to go to the club, and he says, "Oh, you should get yourself a fixed gear bike. Your brakes are sticking." And so I was like, Wyatt, you know, because Wyatt can talk a lot. There's not a lot of improv in the film, but maybe half the funny shit, because I'll take credit for half of it. Half the funny shit is all Wyatt improv. And I said, Wyatt, you just got to say something when she moves the bike, when you move the bike. And he goes, all right, I got it. And Wyatt's a real smart dude. Like I said, he's really hungry, so he was doing all his homework. We were living in this apartment in the marina while shooting the film, Wyatt and I, and he was just sort of ingesting what the marina was about while we were making the film. And so when I tell him to do this ad-lib, he moves the bike, doesn't tell him he's going to do this. And thankfully, James is an amazing DP and camera op, so he got it. But Wyatt says, hey, you should get yourself a fixed gear bike. You know, you'd be the first black woman to ride a fixed gear bike through the marina. Hell, you're probably the first black woman in the marina. Like he says, you'd be like Mae Jemison, who's the first black female astronaut. And so, just great, you know? And it's because he's doing the work. He's in the marina, he knows what that's about. He's sort of, he's ingested what it's like to be an African-American person in San Francisco, never spent much time here. But because he wasn't here, he was doing all this work. And because he's an amazing performer, he found ways to work it into the film. I think the people you're working with, you know, the craft elements should be as virtuous, as meritorious as the actual piece of work that you're trying to create too. And it was a problem that we had on the film, but as we get into it, Tracy really began to buy in, and you're right, all the nuance in her character with Holding, she was able to sort of bring out in her expressions and her movements.
I don't know what your next project is, and what would be your ideal film if you got the budget that you had always dreamed of?
Pretty much the first year and a half after the movie premiered, I was just working on promoting medicine. The next job I had was working at the Local 16, stapling plywood as a carpenter. And I'll never forget, I'm on my knees behind the stage. We're building this thing for this Apple event. And this guy goes, hey man, you ever seen this movie, this independent film, called Desert Malachi? You kind of look like the director. He's like, yo, I am the director. And he looked at me, he was like, well, what the hell are you doing here? I was like, independent film don't pay no money, man. I'm adapting a memoir right now that's set in New York. I have another project that I wrote for Focus Features that I've written like 8 drafts of. That's also set in New York, unfortunately. And I have 2 very small independent films, not as small as Medicine, but smallish, that I'm writing set in Oakland now, and one that's set in San Francisco.
I think something that we've been kind of dancing around is the politic and race analysis, and I just want to know, was that also something personal to you in this past relationship?
Extremely, yeah. It's one of those things where it's a question that I didn't quite answer in the film. It was very much a working out of things, you know? I was maybe 4 years, 5 years younger when I wrote the film, 4 years younger when I made it, and I'm still not certain about the answers to some of the questions that the film is asking. One of the things that did come across that I was very happy with was the issue of gentrification and how class and economics is what's driving it, particularly to San Francisco. But the effect it has is that it's affecting the brown people first. That's the dislocation and the disorientation the character Micah is hoping Joanne will be attuned to, and she's choosing not to sort of not to engage him on those subjects. But I personally think she should a little bit more. But she's well within her rights not to feel that way. You made a point of trying to do at least pictorially a version of San Francisco that I thought jived with the emotional state of the characters. The color changes with the mood of the characters, and so once we made that decision that the visuals were going to be important about our depiction of San Francisco, we then found a way to wed it to the characters and sort of take that through. And you're right. One of the things about the film that catches on, I've been to like many countries internationally with the movie. One of the things that catches on is the way San Francisco is filmed. Not even the story, just the way it looks is very important to people and really hooks them into the story in a certain way. So,
where is it available?
It's on Netflix Instant right now, so if you have Netflix, you can just dial it up and watch it automatically. Or if you want to torrent it, man, I didn't say that, you guys are recording this. But I was like, the first day I saw it on BitTorrent, I was like, yes. It's like being on the subway in New York and seeing somebody trying to sell you a bootleg of your own movie.